What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the third installment into the latest Trolls series, simply titled Trolls Band Together. Directed by Walt Dohrn and co-directed by Heitz, with a screenplay given to us by Elizabeth Tippett. This film once again stars people like Justin Timberlake, Kendrick, and Kenan Thompson, as well as some new faces to the franchise played by Amy Schumer, Andrew Rannells, Eric Andre, and many, many more. So I haven't gotten around to covering the other two Trolls films that are part of this current continuity that's been coming out in the last few years, but I do intend to at some point, and I was actually able to go and see it today early thanks to an early press screening invite. Now, if you've been following the channel recently, I've had the awesome opportunity to be invited to some press screenings that typically only have a percentage of the theater packed out, with people who are specifically there to cover the film to some capacity. And today I was a little bit surprised to arrive and find out that there was actually a row for press where I sat with my sister, who was my +1 today, but that it was actually something that was open to the public. So I saw this film about a week or so early with a theater packed out with families and kids. And on one hand, I was a little bit worried about that, but on the other hand, I figured this would probably be the best opportunity to be able to kind of experience the film with the target audience and be able to tell my kind of take on the film, while also recognizing that there's tons of other people in the theater that are probably going to appreciate it on a different level. And what I can say on that note right out of the gate is that I was really pleasantly surprised to see how much the kids in the theater really enjoyed the film, as well as the parents. There was a lot of laughter and joy and some clapping throughout the course of the film that you can definitely tell this movie is going to do well with families, kids, the target audience for sure. I'm a 30-year-old guy who still loves animated films, but I do recognize that this franchise isn't necessarily for me. So going into it, I just definitely wanted to just have a good time and hopefully have a smile on my face by the time the runtime was over. And I'm happy to say I got just that. And one of the things I was the most interested about when it comes to this film is the return of NSYNC, because before I was a full-on hard rock, heavy metal fan, as I have been for, quite some time at this point, when I was a really young kid, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, they were just all the rage back then. And so NSYNC was without a doubt my favorite first big group that I was into as a kid. I would have to go do a little bit of searching, but I know there are some old VHS tapes that my dad recorded when I was a kid of me with some sunglasses, a fake microphone in front of the TV, doing all of the NSYNC dance moves and singing along to all the songs. I would love to find that footage and upload it here to YouTube for you guys to see. But all that to say, NSYNC definitely holds a very special place in my heart. So when I saw that they were returning for this film by writing a song and also going to be making a cameo, that little boy inside of me was very, very happy to know that was going to be the case. And so on that level, I really enjoyed this film. There was some nice music in the film altogether. If you've seen the other two films in the franchise, you know that these films are loaded with mic drops and all these popular songs, a lot of big, medleys of popular songs throughout the course of the films, and this film is no different. So if you're a fan of popular music and just pop music in general, there's tons of great references to music throughout the course of this movie. And since it is specifically honing in on the idea of boy bands and of course having the return of NSYNC with this movie, there are so many references to so many boy bands of the 80s and 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, many of which will probably go over the heads of a lot of kids, which was also something I was pleasantly surprised by, that this film actually had quite a bit of humor and references that I think are going to make adults and the parents laugh more so than the kids. Stuff that the kids can still laugh at, but there's definitely some innuendos in there and some things that are far more for the older audience members who are undoubtedly going to be either forced to go watch this movie or go watch this because they want to. And the base premise this time around is we're reintroduced to the character of Branch, played by Justin Timberlake, but we do a flashback to when he was a young boy and he was part of this boy band called Brozone with his brothers. Unfortunately, that brotherhood ended up falling apart. The band fell apart. They all went their separate ways and haven't seen each other until now, when one of the brothers has been captured by these two new pop stars known as Velvet and Veneer, played by Amy Schumer and Andrew Rannells, who are pretty much using a device to suck the magic and the talent out of this one brother so that they can actually come across across as talented pop stars. Definitely some commentary on how a lot of pop stars are kind of seen these days, where they pull from a lot of other individuals to create their own talent, when a lot of times they don't really have that personal creativity themselves. This has brought the brothers together to go on an adventure once again to save their other brother and reform this band. That's the base, straightforward gist of this movie, and what I can say about the film is I enjoyed it. I found it to be a cute, fun time. It's nothing that's going to blow your socks off. It's nothing that's going to blow people's minds. This is not something that I think is going to be on my top 10 films of the year by the time we get to the end of the year, but I'm happy to say that it was an enjoyable, good time, and I think part of it was being in this audience amidst all these kids and adults and parents that were there just to have a good time. There was plenty of fun being had throughout the course of the theater, and I felt like that energy was definitely part of the experience for me. But as far as the movie goes, I think it's a fairly simplistic narrative that has incredibly generic villains that were without a doubt my least favorite part of the film, but ultimately has a lot of charm and an underlying theme of family. I took my sister with me as my +1 for this movie, and the movie has a lot of themes about siblings in particular, which I felt was fitting with the fact that my sister joined me. There was a lot of nice messages throughout the course of the film that really just leaned into the family, the power of family, and pushing through tough times and kind of changing your perspective on things for your family. And I think on that level, that's where this film really shines. There's not really an abundance to say about this movie if you've seen the Trolls trailers or if you've seen any of the previous Trolls films. They're usually pretty straightforward films with a nice underlying message that kids and families can take away, that tend to have a lot of just great needle drops, a lot of popular music that is going to strike a chord with a lot of audience members, and this film in a lot of ways is no different. Similar to these other films as well, this film is incredibly colorful and vibrant, utilizing top tier animation. Of course, the character designs in these films are a little bit strange at times, and there's even a couple of sequences in this film that you can probably guess what kind of drugs the creators of this film were using. At times there are some very trippy visuals over the course of the film, but again, really great animation. There's a clarity to it, a detail to it when it comes to the fur that's on the skin of all these various troll-like creatures over the course of the film, and just on a visual level I found it to be very enticing to look at. The music was fun and entertaining, and the story was touching. That's really all I can say about this film. It's a sweet, cute kids film that I think parents and kids are going to enjoy both alike, that has a pretty simplistic narrative, generic villains, but is an enjoyable time nonetheless. Again, nothing that's going to be on my top 10 of the year by the time we get to the end of the year, but something I think families can go and appreciate and have a good time with. And like I mentioned before, if you're a fan of NSYNC, there's something in there for you as well, just to know that they're back. I never would have imagined that if you would have told me as a young boy when NSYNC dissipated that they were going to be returning when I was 30 years old in a Trolls movie, that was going to be the case. I never would have imagined that would have been reality, but here we are, and that's what's happening. And Trolls band together I found to be a good time. Again, nothing absolutely crazy on a narrative level, but there's fun, good times to be had. Depending on your personal taste and what you like out of movies, you may like this more or less than I did, but I do think it's safe to say that this is an enjoyable family film that most kids and adults are going to enjoy together as a nice family outing. So big thanks to you guys for watching, and definitely let me know down below in the comment section, did you like this movie? Did you not like this movie? If you're watching this before it's released, are you going to go check out this movie? I do believe overseas in certain markets it has already released, but at least here in the States it'll be releasing on November 17th. A big thanks to Universal and Dreamworks for sending me out an invite to the screening to go and check it out a little bit early. I'm glad I got to check it out a little bit early, and I definitely look forward to hearing what people have to say about this movie once it has its general audience release. A big thanks to you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.